Channel Y. Channel Y. A South Asian Canadian channel.
Hi, this is Priyanka Chopra and you're watching Channel Y.
The biggest South Asian media group, Y Media. Y Media. Y Media has newspaper, midweek, radio, South Asian Pulse.
Hi, I'm Amitabh Bachchan and you're listening to South Asian Pulse.
Hi, this is Amir Khan and you're listening to South Asian Pulse.
Television. You are watching Channel Y. Channel Y.
Prime Minister, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be back.
Online, SouthAsianDaily.com. The biggest South Asian media group, Y Media.
Hello and welcome to Y Media exclusive interview. I'm your host Ramona Singh, and today joining me is the president of International Business University. Her name is Joanne Shoveler. How are you today?
Just fine. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Joanne, education is so important to me. It's been something that my parents has instilled in us, and so continuous education has been the key for me to navigate through many different careers. So I'm super excited to talk to you about IBU. Tell us a little bit about IBU and what the opportunity is for Ontario students.
I really appreciate that. I have been in the public university system for the last 30 plus years, and when I had the opportunity to lead IBU, which is Ontario's first independent, meaning we don't get government funding on an operating basis, and that allows us some flexibility. And it is a not-for-profit university. We're a starting university to offer something very different to Ontario's students. I was really excited because when you're talking about that lifespan of learning, I was very excited about being able to offer that to a number of our diverse students from across Ontario who would be able to take an honors BCom in international management and technology that would be really designed for the students, that would be designed so we have class sizes of 30 people. We're looking at personalized mentoring, personalized coaching, and it all adds up to this concept of personalized learning that in my career I have seen that people need these personalized learning plans, particularly now. Your education starts when you're very little. You go through the elementary and into the secondary, and then your post-secondary is an add-on from that. And what I've seen is that people who are prepared for that post-secondary, who understand how to navigate it, but also understand there's a whole wide world out there after that, that they need to keep learning, they need to keep developing. Learning needs to be part of their goals. That's where I see people are successful. I've seen tens of thousands of alumni around the world, and the key to success is that notion of personalized learning. And that's what IBU is delivering, and that's why I'm very excited about joining it.
Tell us about what is personalized learning, because this is a new concept that, and especially with saying that there's 30 students per classroom. I mean, I know when I went to university, I was overwhelmed with the hundreds of students in class, and then you're just on your own, independent, and if you don't have adequate learning skills to be able to study independently and in a timely fashion, then you could easily fail those courses. So tell us about how that's different from traditional university.
You just said it. You've just outlined why I was so excited. Because the thing is that not everyone learns the same way. In fact, everyone learns differently. Some people like to see things that are very laid out. Some people are good readers and they can absorb things. Some people like to see things very physically. A lot of people like applied learning, where you are taking your theory and then you are using case studies or you're using real life examples. And essentially what we're looking at doing what we are doing at IBU is we are taking all of those elements of learning, building that into core competencies in the curriculum that employers want to see, giving them as much applied learning as possible so that they can understand how they're learning and how this will be applied to their career. But really, at the heart of it is each individual. How do they learn? How do they absorb? How do they turn that learning and those skills and that knowledge into a plan that gives them a fulfilling career and helps them continue to learn in that career? And that's what leads to promotions. It leads to new opportunities. It leads to simply keeping up with what your job is and making sure that you have the new skills, the new understanding that will be current with your job. So at the end of it, what I think is really different about IBU is we're putting the student at the heart of the learning. That every student, we have a yes you can attitude where they won't get lost in the system because we're small, we're intimate, we like to think of ourselves as having a family atmosphere. And as we grow, we intend to hold on to that so that the students will be at the heart of the learning and that we are thinking of them as an individual that is navigating. And then over time, we'll have a community of IBU graduates who have that yes I can attitude.
That's fantastic. So it's that continued relationship with the students who graduate for them to come back and upgrade their education, take courses to be able to meet the work needs. I find that when it comes to business, so much has changed since the pandemic. The way you do business, the way you engage with your customers, the customer acquisition cost has changed, right? When a lot of stores have now gone on to e-commerce. So it's about navigating through all that. I can't imagine like doing an MBA maybe 20 years ago. It's a different world today. So does IBU address some of those challenges that now that people are facing to upgrade those skill set?
Absolutely. So I mentioned that we have an honors BCom, which is a highly recognized degree. So we went with the honors Bachelor of Commerce in International Management and Technology right away. That's our core program because it's a highly recognized and respectable degree. What we are also building around that are a series of micro-credentials, a series of postgraduate certificates, a series of continuing education opportunities that will be built in as part of our overall menu of opportunities that will be available to students that want other avenues in addition to the degree, but also to our graduates over time. We also are now in the process of applying for the approval of an MBA program and 3 other undergraduate programs. And we're having good conversations with other places about different programs we can offer. So our overall aim is to, as you said, have that continuing relationship with our graduates and with all participants in our programs, where we can help them to plan out what their learning pathway looks like alongside the career goals and aspirations that they have. I mentioned that I had dealt with, that I've been privileged to work with tens of thousands of alumni over the past 3 decades. And the number one thing that I noticed right around the world, all cultures, all backgrounds, all industries, the people who were successful were the people who had committed to their own goals and their own learning to get to those goals. And they used every opportunity to learn. They used networking, coaches, mentors, lots of industry access. They used formalized education. They used long courses. They used short courses. And ultimately, they said, I want to get here. And they looked for people who could help them figure out how to get there. And that is, I think, the biggest differentiation for IBU is that we are accessible, we're flexible, and we really focus on that personalized learning, which puts the student at the heart of the experience all the way through their lifetime. And that's the exciting piece for me in being quite different from what the larger institutions can actually achieve.
It's so true. That's been my experience, trying to learn in so many different ways to keep up with society, with demands at the workplace, or just my own interests as I evolve and new careers that I want to get to. So that's fantastic to hear. Now, what I did hear you say is that IBU is a non-for-profit university. So what does that mean?
So IBU was established in December 2020 with ministerial consent as a fully operating, fully accredited university. And we have we were given approval for our first Bachelor of Commerce in International Management and Technology in mid-2021. And we've started growing our programs now. It was established as an independent, meaning we were independent of government operating funding, but not for profit, meaning that everything that is, all of the additional revenues go back to be regenerated into the student learning experience. So that means for the students, when they come to IBU, they know that we are committed to each individual student, but that any of the additional revenues are being regenerated into the institution, into their learning, into the facilities, into the infrastructure, and into the teaching programs that are being developed. So I think the not-for-profit means that when we're working with companies, they're seeing that as a real asset as well. And it commits us to a societal intent that I think makes us a really important part of the Ontario landscape.
Absolutely. I consider myself a lifelong student, as I've taken so many different courses and graduated from mainstream traditional schooling to independent schooling and short courses. And what I think is great about hearing that it's non-for-profit is because so many times when I went into a traditional institution for education, I felt like a number, and I felt like some of the programs that were being offered were not graduating me to the needs of the workforce. And so when I hear that there is an institution, a university that's focusing on reinvesting and graduating people to jobs and at that personalized approach, then you feel like you're not just a number or just another customer at an institution. Because I mean, after a while, I think I felt that school was like a big business. And then it was like, okay, well, you still need to meet the needs of the students who need to be job ready. And so part of that is how are students getting job ready and getting internships a possibility to be able to get into the workforce?
Absolutely. And we have an incredible network of industry supporters, people on our board, people with our program advisory council. We have a number of people who are lining up because they're very excited about what you just outlined. Ontario is lucky, very fortunate to have a really strong public university system. We're very, very fortunate for that. What has happened though over time is it has become bigger, it has become more complex, and there are other needs in the Ontario Public University system. Research, there are a number of things that they're required to address. And that has meant that the individual, the opportunity to treat students as individuals has lessened, just in terms of the complexity of the organization. They too are not for profit at the end, but what has happened is that they have had to grow in a very complex way. So what business is excited about with IBU is that we were in a position, and encouraged by government, we were in a position to say the students are first. The student learning is first. We were in a position to say 30 students per class. These are things that we were built on. This is what matters to us, and that was part of our ministerial consent. So when the companies start looking at what we can do, how agile we can be, they're very excited about working with us because we can respond real time to what their needs are. I'm hearing from companies saying they have, you mentioned the pandemic, they're saying they have extraordinary talent, talent shortages, talent problems. They really need to see people coming in that can be educated with what they need very quickly. And they need an organization that can adapt with them, that can draw on different partners, different suppliers, and be able to address where their current employees are, where their incoming employees are. And in some cases, we are partnering with our public, the public institutions to align well. But what we can do is deliver to those students, deliver to those employers. So back to your question about how do we prepare our students to look at their career and their industry of choice. It starts with mentoring. It starts with the faculty. We have experienced faculty in industry, and they love their students. They're very excited about understanding the backgrounds of each of those students. The faculty spend time with them to prepare them to create that applied learning, real-time learning, things that will matter in the classroom and in their career. And then that's the first semester, the first to second semester, understanding what the student wants to do, where did they come from, what are their skill sets, what are their goals. Then in the second semester, we start to line them up with some external coaches and mentors. We have people who are really excited about this right now to be meeting with our students. And again, because we're personalized, we can start to do that matching. And then next, we start talking to employers about where they would be interested in internships and where the students would line up. We can start to help the students understand the industry, understand what jobs are available as entry-level jobs, understand where their skill sets fit with those jobs, and then we can start to introduce them for their internships or their co-op programs, depending on how they want to align their program. Which leads me to another feature of IBU. I mentioned that we are about accessible, flexible, personalized learning. And the flexibility is that the students can take eight semesters in sequence, can do it really quickly. So that means that in just under 3 years, they could graduate with their honors Bachelor of Commerce. Or they could decide to build internships in, and they can extend that over a period of time and graduate a little bit longer, but with very deliberate internship places built into the program. So the idea of personalized learning is to create the accessibility for people in the program to design a flexible pathway that suits what their goals and aspirations and circumstances are. And then ultimately to help them build those networks of coaches and mentors and other networks that will help them be very successful in the career of their choice. And then stay in touch.
That's fantastic. I know that when I was in university for my undergraduate degree, I specifically, out of the 3 schools that had the program, I chose the one that had an internship. And even then, it was a limited internship based on your marks and application. I was lucky enough to get into that internship, but that is how I got started in my career. I got hired after my internship, and that was like the beginning of my professional career. And had I not picked that school because it had an internship, had I not gotten into an internship program and really applied myself at the workplace to get hired, it started with like a contract, and it extended, and it was just such a great experience because the job was directly in the field of what I was studying. So I can imagine that, and that was rare back then, and I had the foresight to do that. So, but the fact that IBU is doing that, and that's the center of what the holistic education system that you guys have created, is fantastic to hear.
That's terrific. Well, I'm glad it brought you to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard you talk about the aid packages for students who need financial assistance. What does that look like for students who need who would love to come to IBU but are looking at some aid?
Absolutely. As IBU is an independent organization, we have created our own financial aid package where we work with students to determine what their circumstances are. There are incentives based on your past experience, your grades, and certainly there are opportunities for grants through the for tuition reductions through the program based on the person's academic performance. But in addition, there is a very generous financial aid package, again according to the students' circumstances, where there is tuition deferral that can be arranged for a considerable period of time, even beyond graduation. And it is all based on personal experience or circumstances. So back to the accessibility, financial accessibility is a large part of what we are offering, so that there are these very generous packages that the students can be talking to our enrollment team about. And we hope they'll come and talk with them very soon.
Yeah, and you have an open house coming next week.
We
and what
do.
can people expect to attend the open house?
So it's a virtual open house at this time, although we have a campus at 80 Bloor West, which is at Bay and Bloor, and we'd invite people to who are interested to please come and understand what that location has in terms of advantage. But the open house is a virtual open house on June 1st. And it is at 2 times, 12 to 1 and then 7 to 8 in the evening. And what you will be hearing about at the open house is you'll be hearing from myself, from our team, from some of our faculty. You'll be getting a sense of what the IBU experience is. There will be opportunities to answer questions live and in person, so that people who are interested in learning more about that applied learning that we have, about what it's like to be in the classroom with a number of our students and with our faculty who have real life experience. They'll be getting a taste of what it's like to be an IBU student. And I think what I'd like to emphasize is that International Business University was chosen very specifically as our name because we represent a very international and diverse audience, and people who are looking to be thinking at an international level. They see business as a common language, something that business is in the applied trades. It is for finance, it is for agriculture, it is for manufacturing. No matter what you're doing, there's an element of business. So they're seeing this as a common language. And they also see it as a university level where you're thinking and you're also doing the application. The reason I emphasize that is that at the open house, at the virtual open house, you will get a feeling of what it is like to experience that international aspect, the diversity that is inherent in the IBU culture, and with that sense of business and what it means, how quickly it's changing at that university level. So I wanted to just emphasize how important those 3 words are in the culture of IBU.
Absolutely, and I think it's absolutely marvelous that meeting you and how excited you are about this new way of education, the personalized way, and it's always nice because leadership is set from the tone of, from high up, and it sets the tone for the rest of the organization. So you being the president of IBU and how excited you are about this approach and how well informed you are, and I know it's going to set the tone for the faculty and the students that attend IBU, so I'm super excited for you and the students.
Very kind of you. Thank
Yes,
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you here in studio, and thank you for sharing with us. Any
Thank you.
final words?
I just want to say to all the potential students, to the participants, to our future alumni, to their parents, to their teachers, we welcome you at IBU. There is a saying at IBU, yes, you can, and we believe that. We believe very much in the power of the individual. We believe very much in the trajectory of the individual to navigate all the changes. So regardless of whether you're an influencer of some young people, whether you are someone that's making these choices right now, we really hope that you'll give IBU consideration and that we'll see you at our virtual open house next week, June 1st. Thanks so much, Ramona. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was a Y Media exclusive interview with Joanne Schevler, who is the president of IBU. Thank you again.
Okay, thanks so much.
BDI in the IBU.
Join International Business University's close-knit family to maximize your potential and future success with the best learning environment. Earn your Bachelor of Commerce degree in International Management and Technology for a better future. To learn more, book your seat for our next open house at ibu.ca now.